Today we have a very special guest who is India head of shared services and global head of P2P. He has 25 years of an experience in finance and accounting domain, both in captive and third party BPO space. Stay tuned till the end. You're going to be having a lot of insights coming out from this podcast. And this podcast is going to be tuned around performance management during COVID. Hi Anil, how do you feel?
Hey Gopi, it feels really nice to be a part of this podcast, and I'm quite happy to be discussing my own experiences on how this new COVID has been the new normal has been panning out for all of us. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
All right. Anil, since you have 25 years of an experience in finance and finance and accounting, as well as BPO, captive and third-party BPO center, right? You have become an expert in managing performances primarily, right? From considering that, right, we all know that currently we are into a COVID and lockdown, and things are changing really faster in terms of people are working from home. Now, what is one question coming up in my mind is that. Is there a significant change in the performances when compared to the normal and the new normal? Right? Is there a significant decrease in the performances of employees as well as the current SLAs and KPIs and all of that stuff?
That's a very interesting question, Gopi. And to start from a right perspective, this COVID is a black swan event. It is something which has not happened in the last maybe 50 years in our finance and accounting field, and then happening for the first time. Almost everybody is taken aback. Everybody is caught unawares. So the way, if you look at that beaten to death cliche of new normal, I think the parameters with which you need to measure performance needs to change. Now, in this current situation, the way you look at performance is different from the way it was done earlier. Now, we used to do measurements like productivity per hour, results which are done within how many repetitions done in a particular hour. Those become irrelevant now. So more than the amount of productivity that a person can churn out in an hour, I think the results that at least we have done is we have changed it to a results within a target time, and that is more relevant. And if I consider from that perspective, I don't think the performance, at least in my team, has come down significantly. I handle quite critical areas of global payments, vendor payments for the globe. There are teams which handle the treasury activities. We do the payroll for a lot of countries, and if you look at a particular task which is to be done within a particular period of time, we have been able to meet all our SLAs. So if you want to monitor, micromanage people on how much have you done every minute, every second, I think it is irrelevant now.
Okay.
In this event, I would ask everybody to look at whether the task has been done within that particular period of time, and I think we have not seen any significant dips in performance. When we got the hit in March 2020. There were some issues, some blips when we wanted to come up to the required normal. But now from a delivery perspective, all results are being delivered. My book close is happening on time. We did our first pay run with a new system on 31st March, and it went out like a peach. The payments have gone off time. So for any performance drop, the processes should remain the same. We communicate on time, but other than that, I think there has not been a significant drop in performance as per my experience.
So having said this, Anil, to handle any crisis, right? What I really feel is that your middle management, right, the managers and the first line and second line managers play a very critical role, right? Despite of whatever strategy changes we make, or probably we slightly change our execution methods, right? Still, it has to be executed by our first line and second line managers. So during this crisis, how do you think that the managers are equipped to control such situations?
Okay, so I'll explain from my own experience, and I think that serves as the best example. The first thing that we did, and I ask everybody to do, is not to take any knee-jerk actions, because the moment you start taking knee-jerk actions, you are going to spend the remaining time just to undo the mistakes that happened. Yeah. So I have a set of managers. I understand each person's experience. I understand the job responsibilities, and uh, I action my expectations around those competencies and how I'm able to utilize them. So if you look at it, when I start explaining it, you will find that these are not something new which we did. These are always into play ever since the time outsourcing happened, or ever since the time people started doing the activities. So when I juxtapose that situation to the current situation, how we managed it, what we did is we identified all the tasks that we are supposed to do, understood for each task what sort of client interface are required and what is not required. You will bifurcate between who are your external customers and who are your internal customers. Where are you requiring some sort of an active involvement with those people, and where you don't need them. You have to refer back to the contract to see if there are any BCP requirements, if there are any force majeure clause which have been structured, and then you have to structure your actions based on those. Once you identify the area within which you need to play, the next biggest item is to identify the most critical resources, most critical tasks, and the ones that require a high amount of interaction and interfaces between multiple areas. Now, once you have done that, you're it's like on your mark, get set. The go means put them onto the recovery path first.
Right.
So once they have been on the recovery path, you're not expected, because these are difficult times. You should not be micromanaging them. I need to trust my people.
Right.
What you need to do is remove the interference from across them by cutting out the unnecessary meetings, the noise that creeps into the system, and you should focus more on the crisis management team meetings. You understand from the strategy point, you pass on this information to them and allow them to run the execution. As and when you keep going, you just tweak those performance parameters. Wherever those small course corrections are required, you do them based on the results as they come out.
Right.
And when you are doing this entire structure, please understand one very, very important thing. You are not working in an office. You are intruding into a person's home. And once you are intruding into somebody's private life, into their home, you need to provide certain concessions to mitigate this as soon as possible. I can tell you a couple of examples. Some of the meetings I did were with my lady staff who had just come out of maternity. In a normal situation, they would have taken 4 months off, but these people were ready to go. And I had a couple of meetings when the kid was in their lap, and I encouraged them not to let them go. Let them be in your lap and let's have your meetings. It is a favor that they are doing to me. I'm not doing a favor for them. Exactly. So the moment I started expressing these thoughts in a public forum, the team just got closer. We were sitting 5 meters away in the office, but we were quite far off. We are tens and 50 kilometers away from each other, and we were yet very close. And that brought out the best in everybody when they realized that, there's an instance of give and take. There's a love which is happening, that concession which is happening. It's not a rat race anymore, and the people were performing. I can tell you, will keep talking through this podcast that there was a zero dip in the overall performance in my team because of the personal touch that came in, because of the distance that came physically. Yeah.
That was amazing, Anil. The example which I would not call it as an example. That's a real incident, isn't it? Right.
That's a real incident.
That's extremely important, right? To accommodate their life also along with the professional space is extremely important currently, because even when I go into the meetings and all, right, I can't close my room door because my kids keep on coming and knocking it down. So now, similarly, my bosses also always keeps on, says that's fine, leave it as it is. You just focus here, let them play out. Kind of that accommodation is really important at this point in time, and that will definitely helps to keep the performance at a certain, standards, right? Yes. Now, having talked about this, Anil, what is another point I wanted to ask you is that there are certain measures we do have put in the normal life, right, before COVID. And now probably definitely we would have taken certain new measures to ensure performances and improving the collaboration of the team and all of that, right? Now, what was working earlier and what was not working now, probably certain things would have not worked in the past, and probably certain things would have been working now, right? What kind of measures are those?
Okay. So I'll try to keep it simple because I'm generally very raw and very simple in my statements. One of the big things which is affecting us is there was a face to the sound earlier. We were physically interacting with each other, so that lack of sight with sound in people interactions is a little painful, and I guess it is going to be there the way the news is unfurling. Looks like this situation is going to be there for a long time. So, but that's painful. I really miss those people interactions, those coffees with my team members, that bonhomie that comes when you're physically sitting next to a team member and looking at what he's doing, asking what the problem is, can I help you in some way? That is certainly missing, and that will be there for a long time. Then there are certain quantitative measures in the SLAs that we have to manage. That is becoming slightly more difficult to collate because of multiple touch points that have come in, the distance that have come in, the problems relating to downloading of data. That's become a problem. Data security is a huge issue, and when I talk to my IT heads, they keep telling me that they spend sleepless nights because there's always a risk of phishing emails coming in, data threat that keeps coming in. So they have to keep their policies updated. They have to keep monitoring the systems to find out if there are any intruder alerts that are coming, and that affects the normal working because of the additional controls that need to be put in. The employee engagement activities which used to do, that floor fun that used to happen, which used to really bring people laughing, patting each other on shoulders, that physical involvement that used to happen, that is, literally gone. I can do all that stuff. I have a coffee cup by my side, but the fun of having a cup of coffee with you and talking it over is not there. It's virtual. So those are certain things that physical feeling is something which is really hitting us.
The emotional connect.
Yeah, that emotional connect is very much lacking.
Very, very true. Very true. Let's say that there is an R&R which is going to happen, right? That the crowd gathering of and calling out people and giving it is completely different from calling out in a virtual space and saying that this guy is, he got a superstar award, rockstar award, whatever award we are going to call it out, and just that emotional connect for people is definitely going to be missing. Even if you are going to give an award to somebody else or somebody is going to receive it, still that emotional connect is going to be now. Having said all of this, Anil, now let's talk about the current practices throughout the market, right? Is there any new practices, right, or the current practices throughout the industry, across industries, not only in shared service industry or ITES enabled industries, right? Is there any practices which being adopted from some other industries and tried out in the shared services or captive shared services?
So this is slightly complicated to answer because you are asking me to go beyond the scope of the shared services and outsourcing sector. So one thing which has come up across all industries is the sensitivity towards cost. Earlier, the top line was very important. There was a whole set of paraphernalia which was purely looking at the top end, and then there was a small team which was looking at the bottom line or the below the line activities or elements. But right now, the cost elements have become as important as the revenue element. And this is something which is hitting not just the IT industry, it is industry, manufacturing sector, it is hitting just sector that you can talk about. And there is an active involvement from the entire finance vertical to ensure that we bring down the cost. And one thing which is happening across all industries is the reliance on analytics, data analytics. Again, I'm going to the cliched areas of artificial intelligence, natural language processing, NLM, you know, but getting beyond the cliche, I think this has become very important because those are the drivers which are providing the most key information for everybody in terms of what needs to be controlled, what needs to be automated, what needs to be done away with. You know, a lot of practices that we used to do, those have been done away with. If you look at the non-brick and mortar companies like the IT sector and all, there is a lot of focus on realignment of the workspace. You know, we are talking about at least 30% to 70% of people now who are going to be either on rotational shifts or they are going to be working from home and then use hotspotting when they come to the office. Similarly, the way in which the salary structures are going to happen, those are also changing because things like transport allowance are going to get done away with, the Sodexo coupons, those are going to change. You touch every element of the way people work, those are going to get affected in a very big way. The data that is being provided, like that is really working towards the CFO, the finance for professionals are taking a more active role into become CIO, the Chief Information Officer. They are even looking into the CEO role, the Chief Executive Officer role, because that is where they are the most closest to the data. They're closest to the data, which is providing the biggest levers for taking actions, and the slice and dice analysis that these people are able to do. They are able to come from the back rooms and into the front room, and they started driving decisions that need to be taken. And that is something which is happening across all sectors. I've been to a couple of quite a few CFO sessions where I used to be panel speakers, and off late it is more of a virtual session. But the underlying theme, whether it is for somebody from a manufacturing sector or a services sector, the underlying theme is the CFO moving into the front end and driving actions in terms of reducing cost, doing cost optimization. I would, rather than say cost reduction, I would say cost optimization, and driving those results to ensure that you work on the twin principles of improving the revenue as well as reducing cost, and then getting the best results for the company.
So primarily the cost reduction is one key area where
cost optimization, I would like to keep it, because reduction makes a lot of people afraid. It's cost optimization.
Cost optimization. That's how we need to call it as, definitely. From that aspect, probably this is out of proportion question. Now how the clients are actually looking at COVID now when it comes to probably from a business excellence perspective, right? The data analytics or robotics or visualization, whatever we wanted to call it, at different spaces, right? How the clients are looking at, are they willing to invest money in optimizing the processes, or is it somewhere they say, hold on for a moment now, don't invest anything, let's do the cost optimization first, let's cut down certain things and then start investing certain amount in automation and all of that, because when you look at robotics, BI, UiPath or Blue Prism, whatever, right, it's expensive, right? And though the return of investment is quicker and faster, but still the investment is going to be there. And from that aspect, do you think the clients are ready to invest at this point in time, during this COVID or post COVID?
Okay, so there's also a bit of a dicey question, but let me try to answer this in the based on the best knowledge that I have. Now, historically, if you look at the last 3-4 years, the relationship in most of the service sector is moved away from a customer vendor relationship to a largely partnership based relationship. Most of the revenue models are not FT based models, but they can be transactional models, they can be outcome based models, they can be participative models. So even the billing has become more of where we share the gains and loss of the endeavors that we want to take together. And in this situation, it is not that I am dependent on them or they are dependent on us. It's like in this walk, we have to put our hands on each other's shoulders and then do the walk together. So we are worried, they are also worried, and we both know that we depend on each other to go through these crises and move into a better situation. Though the cost pressures are there at their end, the billing for us is also under pressure, but the partnership element, I do not see that has come down at all. The risk elements or the risk taking appetite has come down definitely. And where we would let's say do something at a 70% and do a pilot and then do correction, those have come down to some extent, and we have started investing more on the R&D, looking at more viable options which are less cost involving, and then we do those analysis, and as and when the results come out, then we decide what best is the action to be taken. The investment has not stopped. The investment has come down from a client's end. Our consulting in terms of multiple options, those have also come down. We are looking at keeping the processes simple right now, doing more of the process evaluation. So a lot of focus has come down also to back to the both traditional areas where we used to talk about kaizens, black belt projects, where you look at the process and then try to see what can be done better to reduce the cost, and then wherever required you bring in those small pockets of automation to help speed up the process. There was a time when inefficient process were also being automated. That has come down now. I don't see that too much right now. Now we definitely ensure that we first optimize the process and then we try to look into UiPath. So I feel, if you ask me, I mean the people from the RPA sector might not feel good about this, but I feel that we are now started going to the right track where we first look at the process, we improve the process, and then we start looking into the automation. So, that's my take on it.
Now, last one question, Anil. If you wanted to give one piece of advice or a suggestion from your throughout 25 years of an experience to the first line and second line managers, right, in the context of managing crisis, or in general, right, what it would be?
Okay, so I don't want to market myself, but I wrote an article on this about a month back, less than a month back, and it's available on LinkedIn. Couple of things. One is not to rush into the rat race, because once the COVID came in, people were saying that you're working from home, you've got large amount of time available, you should reskill yourself, you should learn new skills and all. To some extent it is good, but let us not overstretch that beyond a justifiable limit. Please take time, step back. I want people, my team members, the team managers, to take a long breath, relax, spend a time with their families, with their children, go out to the woods, take in a bit of a fresh air. And when you talk about reskilling yourself or learning new things, let it not be limited to something which is on the technical side or technological side. Reskilling could mean a lot of things. You can rewire your entire brain, the way you approach problems. That is required. So when I say keep learning, I am not just focusing on the technology front. I am asking you to look inwards also. Look inward, rewire yourself, reshape your whole life with your family, with your immediate relatives, with your close friends, with your colleagues, with your managers, with the people who report to you. Just look at everything. There are a lot of books which are available on self-development, self-help. I have started reading so many books, and I really find myself, a much better person. And when I look at the problem with that thought process in my mind, I think I'm able to look at it with a fresh perspective. I'm able to give better solutions. As lately as yesterday, I was on a call and I was able to, take out the complexities and think at it from a very simplistic way. So don't get overtly complicated into too many technology things, UiPath, Automation Anywhere, RPA, NLM, all said and done. Don't forget your process. Go back to your basics. Go back to your basics include your family, your old books, your fundamentals on how to do people management, process management. Understand that, and then start looking at the work that you need to do. keep that spirit of learning. That is vital, but doesn't mean that it has to be purely technical. Look at it from a 360 degree. Your entire personality has to change. Your persona has to be different when you come out of this COVID and start meeting people. Your persona has to really change. When the people look at you, the person, I lost 15 kilos. I started putting on muscles. I lost a lot of fat. You know, the persona includes the physical features as well. The way you talk, the way you behave, the type of answers that you give, everything has to change. Not just you start talking technical jargons.
Right.
So this is my sincere advice to everybody who would be listening to this podcast at any point of time.
That's wonderful, Anil, right? When we say upskill yourself, just now in the current context, people are just forcing themselves to learn technology, probably RPA, data science, and all of that, right? That's where the real focus goes in.
Yes.
You have a lot of time to introspect about yourself and understand, and
Right.
how you operate and what are your values and all of that. And if it is not working to you, probably try to change or rewire yourself or reshape yourself, as you said. That's extremely important. I completely with you on that front. Right. Having said all of this, Anil, thank you very much for your time and time which you have spent for this entire podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed having a discussion with you in terms of having all of this questions. There is a lot of insights which have come up in this podcast, and people who are going to listen to this podcast, they're going to be definitely enjoying it. And thank you very much for you.
My pleasure, Gopi. I wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much.